We can all join.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First thing on our agenda is approval of minutes from April 10th. Have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion, any changes? All right, do we have anybody online?
Two people.
Is Sarah by any chance? Okay, so we don't need a roll call, correct?
Correct.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. At this time, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, can we address that later? That should come up. All right. Then I welcome Brendan to get his report.
All right, so I apologize to the board. I did not give you the paper copy. I did start the paper copy, and I did not give it to you. But there are 5 things which will also not follow our general rules, so I'm really messing up. But I did want the board to know that me and the president of the Fall Monitoring Teachers Association, we made a change to the evaluation process for this year only because, well, I say for this year only, but I hear that it's happened year after year after year. That basically it's very challenging to get the evaluation process complete. So we figured out what's reasonable given the circumstances and signed off on that for this year. As I mentioned, I believe this has happened a number of years recently. So I know as part of the strategic plan, evaluation is on there, might be something to look at. I know last time we talked, there was a discussion, I believe, about professional development money and how that was going to be allocated, given our regular stuff, and then given the reconfiguration mostly that's going on in Charlestown. And basically, we decided to do the 20,000 that we typically do as part of the CBA for everything but the reconfiguration part. And then we have $20,200 that will take from either a grant if we need to or end of year funds. And that's going to be for 23 core classroom teachers for 3 days at $200 a day, which totals $13,800. 11 specialist staff for 2 days, same daily rate, which is $4,400, and then 10 additional staff for 1 day, which is $2,000, which is just about, well, it comes up to $20,200. So I know another question the board had was regarding the funds that the board had talked about giving to the staff as appreciation for their work and what to do about those staff who were less than what we had termed full-time, 32, I think we had decided. And what we've worked out based on looking at the numbers is all of the bus drivers, when I say we, it's me and others that I've talked to, feel it's full amount because they're working what they work, and then the other staff, it goes from $750 if you were like 25 hours down to if you were doing, we have a couple of people who are doing like 10, 15 hours, $300. And the total number that were below the 1,000 was, I believe, 7 to 9, something like that. Not many at all. And then 2 more updates. One is that the Conval case, of which we are a party, that's the school funding case, that just had closing arguments on Friday in front of Judge Ruoff. Each side has 30 days to do a written closing statement, and then the judge, the earliest he would decide is 30 days after that, but more likely it will take a little more time. But it's coming, this step in the process is coming to some conclusion, probably sometime this summer would be my guess. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And we're very appreciative of our teachers, but as I told them, I'm also very appreciative of our library media people, our IT, our nurses. And it's funny, most of them do have a day here and there that they celebrate, but I don't think everyone does. And so, it's important to recognize them all. As a district, we'll try to do something nice for them a little later this week, but it's a surprise. So, and that is superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you.
Did I miss something? Certainly possible.
No, I just wonder, do we need to take that up later?
What's that?
Our agenda, the non-regular staff, you did.
You mean for the stipend?
Yeah.
Yeah, you may as well. You want to just take up, agreeing. So the board had agreed to the others, I believe. And it would just be to agree to the additional stipend for recognition for those staff who are not working full time.
Can we take care of that this morning? Or I don't know where we fit otherwise.
In new business, right?
New business, you want to bring that up? We can bring it up again in new business.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any administrator want to start next? Anybody have a preference?
I'll go. To celebrate, we have, or we did our second grade and third grade class, did a musical called Character Matters, where they focused on character traits and everything, and then they put on a performance based on nursery rhymes and everything, and every single student had a speaking part. Some students had solos for music they were singing and everything. We got to, or they performed it for the whole North Walpole School, and then families came in. I would say about like 70 to 80 parents and everything came in front of them, and they were very excited. They worked on their costumes, the sceneries, everything. So they did an amazing job, and it sent a great message, and they were able to talk about all of that throughout the whole month. Something to know, on June 1st, our Walpole Primary School, our pre-K, kindergarten and first grade students will be doing their animal showcase and picnic. They are working on their research project for that age group. So they're doing different things where they're working on looking up on PebbleGo some important information. And they're writing a short little report. They have to create their animal, and they're creating their diorama out of like clay and everything for where they live and stuff. They're working with our art teacher on this piece, but they're also working with our music teacher. The music teacher's teaching them animal songs. Families will come in during that day for their showcase, where they'll sing songs, have a picnic, walk around the school like it's a museum, and they get to present their project. So they're very excited for that. And then a concern is it's testing time. So as we know, this is the time where students really get hit hard with multiple tests and assessments when it comes to the New Hampshire SAS. Dibbles, iReady, everything. So you always just worry about burnout and stuff like that. But our fifth grade did their New Hampshire SAS testing last week. Our 6th through 8th grade starting this week. So we, got them all excited as best we can, and we have things in place so that they have multiple breaks throughout the day and start the day with a recess and everything, and should be good to go.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, Tom.
We'll start with you guys. I start moved on. All right, so first off, because I was going on, the Costa Rica trip got back on this Tuesday, late that night. The trip went off basically mostly without a hitch, a little bit of problems in the airport and a little bit of problems with timing and that kind of stuff, but most of all, the students came away very happy and seemed like a great trip overall. No, you're good. All right. So other things that happened were last Saturday was the prom for Fall Mountain, and that went off well. The Friday before April break, we also had a trivia competition / pep rally / fashion show / music show.
Wow.
That was put on by one of the social studies teachers, Nick Belsky. Other things to note is that the beginning of May is AP season, so there's a lot of AP tests going on right now. And the juniors have their science assessments, I think next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So those are some testing things. Coming up, we also have an event this Wednesday to celebrate where seniors are going after high school. So today, all the seniors were asked to decorate like a little poster for their future plans, whether that be college, going into the military, workforce, anything. And then on Wednesday, they're gonna get snacks and refreshments during the team time. And then we're gonna discuss with each other our future plans. We're also in the middle of Wellness Month, which is being put on by the PE department. So they're doing a bunch of activities to promote social, emotional, mental, and physical health. So there's things like a kickball tournament. We just had someone come and talk about the effects that drugs and alcohol can have on you. They're doing a short story contest. I think it's 2 sentences. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And other things that are coming up is graduation, obviously, which I don't know when's best, but I have invitations for all the school board members.
Right after you're done would be good.
Okay, and this coming week, the foods teacher is putting on a food truck show. So all the kids will have like little dishes for the kids to try during the day.
Wow.
This time?
Senior class gift.
Yes, okay. So the other thing is we have a plan for the senior class gift that we want to discuss with you. Is that the best time? Is now the best time? Okay, so I don't know how many of you are from around here, like alumni or anything, but there used to be a giant pine tree right on that little island in the parking lot. And we're hoping to maybe do something with that to like commemorate the island and refurbish some of its aesthetic appeal. So as a senior class, right now we have about $3,000 to put towards that. And we're looking to raise some more money in the community, but our main concern was that we know that the parking lot might get redone, and we wanted to ensure that that won't be touched, like the Pine Tree Island won't be touched if we do something with it. So that was the concern we talked about with Mr. Ronning about that, and he said that we should bring that to the school board. As for the plans with it, we want to reinforce the stone wall that's out there. There was a local landscaper that came and said we might have to remove some stumps and stuff. But he said he could work with us on that to get it done semi-cheap. And then we reached out to St. Pierre. So they offered that they could do like rock to support the areas that we dig up. And then other things we were thinking was planting some local and native bushes, like around the edges, putting some benches to sit on, and a little plaque in the middle that could commemorate Pine Tree Island and like make it a little memory. Some other points that Ms. Jelly, our class advisor, said to bring up is that we were trying to make it so that they could be used as an outdoor classroom if necessary. So we could have the benches and there's little paths leading up to those. And also a place for like other classes to add on. So we're gonna leave room, so if other classes in the future would like to continue to build on the memory of Pine Tree Island, that there's a possibility for that, but also make sure that we're giving something back to the alumni who used to use that Pine Tree Island as like a spot to hang out and do work. So that's our idea.
I love it. There was a huge tree when I was here.
Yes.
I don't recall anybody doing work there.
I don't either.
There, yeah.
Paraphrasing.
Just,
Paraphrase.
I was told they studied out there.
They studied, but it
They
wasn't
did study.
necessarily, yeah, they studied.
Okay. I have invitation to that.
There's no tree.
The tree, I don't know what year the tree came down. They don't do that.
Mr. Ronning noted.
Like
Yeah.
20.
What year it came down?
Yeah,
8 years ago.
okay.
That's Jamie's.
Okay.
And Ms. Harrison should be in contact with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in addition to that, so later on, I guess under new business, I'm just gonna ask if you can make a motion that we can begin to advertise money to continue to solicit funds for that. Okay, for another one to know, I believe right now Gordon would end up sharing information regarding middle school sports. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to apologize because we were, up for the, Mr. Casper, you know, Mr. Hicks, we got together on Athletic Council. And it was brought up one time at one of the site-based meetings about, a lot of parents had some questions about, possibly moving forward with the regional sports. As I said, And our plans are is to meet with the stakeholders, which are the parents, get information from them. And bring it back to the school board as you guys asked us to do. We might come back to you and the parents might say, this isn't gonna work. They might say, hey, can we do this, and work things together. So that's what our informational meeting was going to be, what we would like it to be about, to get the stakeholders, the people that it involves, get ideas from them. Because like we tell our coaches and parents, players, we play as a team, we work as a team, and that's what we want to do with the regional team. So that was our whole idea about doing this informational meeting, is get their thoughts and their ideas and come back to you and say, hey, it's gonna work, or you know what, it's not, or we need to tweak some things. So that's what we'd like to do.
Okay.
My question, maybe to the board, but also to you, is what's the best way to communicate that out so that everyone gets the information at the same time and is able to do that? Is it, whatever, what do we use?
Yeah.
Throw share or Facebook or what? And because I think it sounds like that might have been part of the issue too, like not everyone got the information.
What's our current process?
It depends on what the issue, what the question is, right? So a lot of times things will come to us and we'll disseminate it, but that hasn't typically been the case for athletics. So
I'd like to see a district-wide email go out and then shared on the Fall Mountain Regional Facebook page, which then could be shared
we shared.
by other community members. I think that at least would be a good starting point. I guess my question would be, are you looking at having one informational night, or are you looking to split it up so one town isn't driving further than the other?
We talked about that, like when I mentioned to Justin and Kevin, would you like to, we go to Walpole one night, go to last one night, go to, who am I missing? Charlestown one night. But they thought, no, if we all meet together, then everybody could hear everything the same at once. Instead of, somebody might say, well, this was said here, this was said there, this was said there. So that's why we thought about meeting all at once.
So a good neutral place might be like here at the high school, right?
Yeah, that's what we thought, yeah.
I agree that a neutral place is gonna be important, but it is a matter of making sure that every attendance area gets it at the same time. And I actually feel like it should be everybody, pre-K through 8th grade or 7th grade rather.
It goes district wide, it would.
That would be important. I don't wanna see just the 6th through 8 get it or anything like that, so.
And I think the only people that can do that are probably us, but if you and Kevin and Justin and Brandon or Corey write up something.
Yeah.
Send it to Misty and we can get it out.
So do you have a potential date that you'd like to?
We were
Get
waiting to
this
hear
done?
from you. I like to do things step by step, wait to hear from you guys. Once you guys give us thumbs up, then we'll get together and get a date and send it to you and all the
You don't
information.
mind having an informational meeting, right? So
No.
we'd just be finding the date. Some people thought it was gonna be this week, is that right? Is that when it was originally scheduled?
It was out there that it was gonna be May 10th at
May
6:30.
10th, so that's what, like Thursday, I think.
Wednesday.
Thursday.
But we're trying to get it done before
Yeah.
school ends.
Right.
Over the summer or anything like that.
So I don't know if you wanna look at a date, maybe the week of the 22nd or next week, maybe one of those 2 weeks. Yeah, so maybe next week.
How many days do we need to give notice once that goes out? Do we need 7 days for parents to be aware and get on their schedule?
It's really up to you. I mean, the more time in some ways is better, but then too much time is not good either, so. So I think if you went like the end of next week or maybe the beginning of the following, but you're not here that week, right?
Yeah, I'm gone last week of May, 23rd, 24th.
Yeah, that's
25th.
next week, yeah. I mean, that's a week after then,
Yeah.
so. And then you have Memorial Day on the 29th, so. It would seem like to get it done in May, next week would have to be the week, but maybe if you did it like next Thursday, that's a week, almost a week and a half.
15.
Yeah, it's the 18th, yeah. Well, that, you wanna try to go with that? Okay. Great, Oh, that's the annual awards night. I don't, no, that's for ROTC, I think, so we're good.
They won't be in the auditorium.
I don't know where they hold that, Tom probably does.
What's that?
Where does ROTC hold their,
Auditorium.
okay, so that won't work, so you could do the 17th, that's still over a week. Okay,
I think that sounds like a good timeline.
great, so 5/17, and then whatever time you were doing it last time. Okay,
Like 6 o'clock, I'm prepared.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you stepping back and making so everybody could get
Yeah.
here.
I think, yeah. And I was saying, put on your calendar, September 29th. I know it's ahead of time. At the alumni football game, I mean, at the homecoming football game, we're gonna have members of the class of 1968 and the class of 1973 at Fall Mountain Region High School is gonna be our guest for the football game.
nice.
So,
Are they gonna play each other?
They're gonna be in the band.
yeah.
Safe.
Very keen.
So in addition to all the positives that the students shared, I just want to share that we have 2 students who are nationally recognized for their accomplishments in French. I can't give you their names yet, but it'll be coming up. And a concern that the high school has is scheduling classes going on. And we are experiencing some difficulty down to 2 teachers. So we're gonna continue to do the best we can, and then we're gonna bring that information to you probably at the first June board meeting, just so you can see how it went.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Chris?
So to celebrate, we have a new play structure. I was told today that I was mean from a kindergartner, because even though the play structure is up, I'm not allowing them on it until it's completely done. So, few safety things, but they love it. One of the concerns, we have testing coming up. We typically change our schedule around that starting next week. We'll provide a little extra time for students in grades 3, 4, and 5 to really excel at that assessment. But it's always a stressful time for people, including kids and parents. And then, May 1st, we had our community night, question and answer at Charlestown Middle School. It went very well. What came of it was a little bit more discussion around transition plans for, especially students coming from one building to another. If they're entering a new building, what that would look like. And just providing that time for them to feel comfortable, making that transition. So we're looking into ideas on what that could look like. That's it.
Okay, in Elsted, we had 2 wireless students, a 6th grader, Lila Dussault, and a 7th grader, Marley King, placed in the Joint Loss Committee poster contest. Our 2nd graders from the Elsted primary had a great trip to the high school to meet their pen pals. While they were here at the high school, they explored the grounds, went on a nature story hike, and participated in many activities with their pen pals. This day was organized by the health department, Heidi Westover, former wireless student, Fall Mountain graduate, and Cayenne Wilkes, former Walpole School student and Fall Mountain graduate, who are both now teaching phys ed and health at the high school. We had our first science fair a couple weeks ago. It was a huge success. The event was planned by our science teacher, Robin Tamula, as she guided students through the process. And the students did a great job explaining their project to all the people who came in. And I would say there was 80 to 90 community members that had attended that. So that was a very good turnout for our first one. And probably very happy, especially at our little kids' age. We finally found a music teacher after not having music most of the year, and he started teaching today.
Fantastic.
So that was a things to celebrate. One thing to let the school board know, on our early release on May 19th, we are bringing in our local emergency officials to speak with staff with a focus on lockdowns, run, hide, fight, and active shooter procedures. And one concern, it's been a concern for years now, lack of substitutes and working hard to find ways to support the kids with who happens to be there on any particular day.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have something, Kristen?
I do.
My celebration is, Dr. Minahan, spoke to it, with summer projects. We had 23 summer projects come in. We spent exactly $20,000. We denied, 10 projects. 6 were due to the reconfiguration, but we're gonna be funding, through other sources. 2 summer projects, we're gonna be looking at Title I monies to fund, and 2 we didn't have enough funding for. So we funded, either fully or partially funded, 13 projects. So that was, very good, and thanks to the committee, of, teachers and administrators that sat on that. The thing I want you to know is, I'll be going to a, next generation, science standards conference tomorrow and Wednesday. Justin Casarino will be joining us for, it's a leadership training for administrators and for new teachers. Justin will be joining me. Sarah Evans, our new high school principal, will joining me. Megan Powell is the science department chair here. So we'll be attending that in Holderness. And then a concern for me, which has been expressed here, is always testing season. It's a big season for us, a lot of accountability, a lot of angst for both students and staff. And so while I have great belief in our staff and how they'll handle everything, it's just always a concern for me. It's just the level of stress that I feel from students and staff.
Thank you.
No.
I think that's a total administrator report. Did I miss anything?
We don't have Corey tonight.
No Corey and no Sandra.
Okay. All right, then I think we have to do the business report.
You guys have the vouchers, but I want to talk about the year-end surplus right now. As of right now, we have 1.9 million left over in our budget. We are gonna have extra revenues this year because of some of the changes the state made after we had set our budgets and gave us some additional money. One of them was they gave us back 7% of our 7% of our New Hampshire retirement that we paid in was one of their items they gave back to us, which was a considerable chunk of change. So I'm looking at roughly 700,000 over, which puts us at 2.6 million total, which is a very, very high number. Again, that can fluctuate, could change, but as of right now, that's where we're at. Out of that 1.9 million, though, I want to point out that the high school has the biggest amount of that surplus of a little over 800,000. That comes from a lot of staffing, not having staffing, the SRO, not having a full-time SRO. So again, that's where the bulk of that money is benefits, staffing, New Hampshire retirement and all that. And a few other places, but they're smaller. But they do have a significant amount. I'm bringing it up because I don't know what you guys want to do with that amount of surplus, because last year I think we returned 1.5 million. The year before that, I think it was a little over 1 million. I know that, sorry, that there's some changes coming down the pike too a little bit and how tax rates will get impacted. I'm worried about that yo-yo effect going on and the up and down. I don't know if there's any projects you guys would be considered or would allow us to consider looking at that we haven't had done yet, that we could use some of that surplus money. But again, it's a conversation for you guys to have to see what you want to do. So.
Can we use any of that surplus to in this driveway?
Yes.
So then maybe we can end the driveway discussion that I've been hearing about for ever.
And with that driveway paving that I'd given you guys the estimate on, that included also paving our where our buses park. Because we have a lot of problems during mud season. I just brought in 4 loads of gravel in there to get it so that it wasn't, let's put it this way, it's just not fun. How's that sound? So was part of it.
What was that?
It was just under, I think it was around 945,000.
And that included the whole transportation area there,
Yes.
that's all currently dirt
Yep.
or mud or whatever.
And I just got that done. It was
In the
2 months.
second English, right?
Yeah, in the second year. Yeah, I think it's about 2 months.
Is it transportation? Sorry. Sorry.
Is the transportation area going to be paved or is it gonna just be re-gravelled?
It would be paved. It would be paved. It would be brought up to where it needs to be paved.
And back enough for the buses to actually park?
Yes,
So
yeah.
they park
Because like I
on-
said, this year we had some really bad,
Oh, yeah, it's
water
been
in
bad
there.
for a long time, yeah.
so.
Way back when I was driving the bus.
So again, just an option for everybody. To think about on what you'd like to do or anything.
When would you have to encumber that by?
I have to uncover it by June 30.
Okay.
As long as it's encumbered by June 30 and I spend it before June 30 of the next year, we're okay.
So does that mean we need to have a signed quote or? In order to
I
get it
I have an
encumbered, what do we
estimate
do?
right now. I would put it out to bid, is what I would do, because that's obviously big enough. It would go out to bid,
Okay,
to have it done that way.
and to have it back in 6 weeks.
Because it's gonna take me a little bit of time to get with Bill to get everything together to go out on that, make sure we have the specs where it should be. The company that brought it to, I think it was Basin Brothers that came over and gave us
I
that
think so.
estimate. So, and his kids go to school here, one of the, not him, but one of the people that works there and manages it, so.
They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, so again, like I said, but I think it should go out to bid, obviously, and we look and see what we can get, but we have time. I just want to make sure it's something you guys want me to pursue, and I start pursuing it now, if that is what you want me to do. To make sure that we can get it in and get an estimate and figure out what we want to do, what we don't want.
Are there any other projects that you have in mind?
A lot of stuff is getting taken care of through ESSERS. So not at this time, because anything dealing with asbestos or some of the roofs and things like that, I'm putting through ESSER.
Okay,
Because that is covered under ESSER and we have a lot of money that we need to spend fairly quickly. But there may be a few other small projects.
Some small ones, there's the potential for some big ones coming up, but they're nowhere near ready or, to be
Yeah, to happen,
done this year
right?
or at the moment, so.
But I'll look up on the other ones to tell you what I see. But again, a lot of our projects have to do with that asbestos abatement and things like that. And the roofs, we don't have, we're very fortunate here that we've maintained our buildings as well as we have. So a lot of the stuff that has to be done is routine maintenance. With the exception of HVAC, which I have not even looked at this point.
And there's stuff at the middle school for the reconfiguration.
Yeah, yes,
So
we do
that's
have some of
already
that too.
provided.
Yep,
so that's already that's not included in this, it's already taken out, encumbered to do those projects, correct?
no, they have not been encumbered. for the
Because you
middle
need
school.
the pricing
I
on it.
need the pricing on it.
We did do the walkthrough of what needed to be done, which I don't know if Corey shared it with everyone. She shared it out with us, so.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So, we do have things that need to be done there.
So there
Yeah,
are
we
some
will.
things that will come out of this 1.9 plus whatever the 7% is. Still to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have time, if we add that discussion to our June business meeting? Does that give you enough time to put that out to bid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you meant wait until then for you to let me put it out to bid. That's what I was thinking you were gonna tell me.
No, I don't think you're saying this.
They're
Or
not.
not?
Okay, good.
She would have to put it out to bid now.
So then we can open it and discuss it. At the
Yeah.
June meeting.
Correct, yes.
I'm in favor of it to go to bid.
I think it makes sense for it to go to bid.
I'll make a motion to put it out to bid.
Sorry, sorry.
That's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then I think
Okay.
we look forward to seeing those bids for, what's the date of that meeting?
It is June 12th.
12.
Okay, then we should have time. That's June
Great.
12th.
Yeah.
Okay, I will get going on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
As far as other projects, I had one that I just thought of was, trying to get a second access road into this building.
That's part of it.
That is part of
That is
that.
part of this?
Boom.
Yep,
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
That would be part of the bid process?
yes, yeah, that was part of it actually to have that done too. Because we do need a second access.
So we bring that plan so that we can actually visualize it.
Yes, yep, I will have that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
We all.
All right, is there anything else from administrators? Anybody else would like to? All right, fantastic.
Elizabeth.
Do you want to take a public comment at the moment, or wait till the end? All right.
I was just
Can you
wondering if
just
some of
say your
those
name?
other, Chris Spalding, I was just wondering if some of those other projects were, carpet removal at Charlestown Middle School.
That's part of the ESSER funding to do that. Yes.
Thank you. Great, then on to new business. Would you like to make your presentation from the professional development?
Yes, so I'm gonna let the PD Executive Committee, do the presentation, so Erin?
Hello, everyone. We are the part of the Professional Development Committee. My name is Erin Olette, and I am the PD Chair. This is Suzanne Clark, she's the Vice Chair, and Amanda Kenson is our Treasurer. Maggie Kyle is not here tonight. She wasn't able to make it, but she is our Paraprofessional Chair. And together, we've been on the committee, each of us, for over 10 years. So, one of our main roles is to support staff with their professional learning. We have professional development representatives for each building in the district, for both teachers and paraprofessionals. We are there to help our colleagues with professional learning needs. Another big role our committee plays is planning our professional development day. We plan one per year that's geared towards our colleagues and the interests that they want to explore. We send out an annual professional development needs survey to help with the planning process of that day.
So the Professional Development Committee, we've been working on writing our master plan, and we play a vital role in the development and maintaining of the master plan. And the master plan is a 5-year plan required by the minimum standards of public school approval, or for public school approval, excuse me. The process was started about 18 months ago as we needed to change a few key details in the master plan. We met several times throughout this school year to really streamline the process and make the document user-friendly for all of our colleagues. And some of our larger changes for our colleagues were a lot of date changes. An example of a date change was we were having our growth plans submitted earlier in this school year. So that gives us more time to help get things started for our colleagues. And teachers now have a strong link between their teacher evaluations and their professional goals. And then we end every school year with everyone completes an annual reflection of their professional learning for the year.
So the PD Master Plan allows for reimbursement for certain professional development costs. We worked on making this process more equitable for all professionals. So each person that falls under the master plan has access to $200 per year. And all of these funds are available on a first come, first served basis. So if someone holds additional endorsements, they'll also be eligible for an additional $100 per endorsement per year, also on a first come, first served basis. So for example, I'm K-8 elementary education certified. So I would be eligible for $200 during the fiscal year. Suzanne has 2 certifications. She's K-8 elementary education and she's also special education. So she would get the $200 plus the extra $100 for her other endorsement for a total of $300 to help her maintain this certification. Staff can use their funds to attend a conference, pay for membership in a national or a state organization, or even purchase a book that they would like to read for their professional learning. So these are just a few examples of things that they might spend their funds on. There are many other examples. Another responsibility of our committee is to oversee the advanced degree program. Several programs we have found are moving away from a very traditional approach in their program, and they've shifted to a more condensed course of study. So we revised the application process as well as the access to funding for the advanced degree program to reflect these changes that have occurred at institutions of higher ed. And we feel that these changes better support our teachers throughout their advanced coursework.
So we know you've seen a copy of our master plan, and we're just wondering if anyone had any questions about the master plan.
Andy?
Not necessarily the plan, but I was wondering if you could tell me how many nationally certified teachers we have?
that form in our district?
It's a great question. We don't, our committee doesn't oversee that
Oh.
aspect of it.
All right,
I
So-
can tell you in a
Not
couple of
sure.
minutes.
okay,
I'll let you know.
Minute has that.
sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that we have 5 nationally board certified teachers. But I think, Brenna, are you looking up?
We all are. Why not?
I was prepared for the advanced degree program question, so I'll answer that.
Okay.
Because that's while we're waiting for this other piece of information, but the advanced degree program, we currently have 5 that are participating in that. We have 2 on the wait list that, should be able to begin as of July 1 when the fiscal year funds become available for the next fiscal year, so.
We have 8 and 1 more who is getting set up and
Nice.
some of them are, a few of them are, school nurses.
Is there a relationship to the district, goals, to when you're both, having teachers work on their, step development and when you're doing your in-service day?
Can we address that a little bit? So as far as the district goals go, those are considered when teachers are writing their professional growth plan. They should be considering things that help us as a district to, or their district goals or school goals or things like that, that they might be looking at. Part of our summer work that we do is to check in with the superintendent to see if those goals have been revised or if we need to make any changes, because they are found in Frontline on our forms. So as we are, as professionals writing our professional growth plan, we should be also considering those goals as well as maintaining our certifications. So.
Are you specifically asking about their professional development goals?
Or in connection with the strategic plan? In connection with the strategic, plan, the district goals, just how are those related between the two and when they're developing their plans, and then also when you're developing your in-service day, are the district goals considered, is the strategic plan considered, is it, how is it related in with what's happening in the district?
So on page, so professional development goals is on page 17. So we've redesigned that in the professional development plan. So that's new. So we'll be helping teachers and related service providers and paraprofessionals and nurses through that process starting next year. So whoever's writing, so those that are up for recertification this year will be going through that process that will be new next year. In terms of when we're planning for future professional development, so next year, they'd like to do the Fall Mountain Educational Summit, which is like a teachers teaching teachers or staff teaching staff. So, yes, a lot of that is taken into consideration, not necessarily the strategic plan, like that teachers are sitting down and saying, okay, the strategic plan says nourish. Let's look and say, how do we do nourish? But yes, I think that there's a direct correlation and a direct connection.
So my one question really, is this a fluid document that you revisit every year and make sure that you're still in line with it?
It's every 5 years. So we were up this July, so we need to make a new one. So we started in October and we worked all year to kind of create it, to be ready for July 1st. And we need to send it into the state with your approval. So that was our next question. If you approve, we will adjust the dates on page 2 of the master plan, and we will correct those dates before we send it into the state. And then we will send a final copy to Dr. Minahan and the school board.
Okay, so my question really is, on a yearly basis, do you look at it to make sure that it is meeting what you want for professional development and making it so that the teachers and the staff can go to it and follow it? Like, you have a process for updating it if it needs to be?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. I read through it and I found it to be user friendly because I had you know, I don't go through any of these processes, and I felt like I could have referenced it and followed along, so very well done.
Thank you.
And in the past, we have provided also a hard copy for every school that's usually in the office. So we have access to it online, but you also can look at it hard copy if that's what you prefer. So we do have that for colleagues as well to help.
I think that's great.
If we were to make any substantive changes, then we would have to do that through the Department of Education. We'd have to put in an amendment to the plan, and then we'd have to come through you to do another full approval. To do that, we wouldn't, but anything that's minor changes, we would be able to do that without approval.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Josh Beer.
We do.
Hello, everyone. A PowerPoint presentation about our trip. No, Brendan, do you have that access to the PowerPoint? I shared it with you earlier today. As he's finding that, so I'm here for our trip to go to National History Day. It's a and PowerPoint will come up. I'll just kind of run through the full details of it, but it's a excuse me, National History Day has been going on for about 50 years. In fact, actually, it's literally the 50th year for National History Day. And New Hampshire has been participating for about 20 years, and this is the 5th year that we've done it here at Fall Mountain. So this year we had 3 groups qualify to go to national. So in the previous 4 years, we've only had 2 groups, actually 2 individuals. The very first year we did it, 2019, and this gentleman here, a couple of years ago in 2021, right? Unfortunately for Caleb, that was during COVID. So he could not go to the University of Maryland College Park, where it is every year. But this year, fortunately, it is. So we have 3 groups going. 8 of the 8 kids who are eligible to go, 7 are choosing to go, and 5 are going to be going with the. Well, let me back up for a second. Of the 7, 2 are going with the family, 5 are going with the New Hampshire National History Day delegation. In years past, if anybody who gets to go to nationals, they're kind of on their own. They go with their family, or maybe the school gets together and sends kids all together. But for the first time this year, the New Hampshire National History Day organization put together this whole group package to send kids down. And so that is what 5 of our 7 students, including me, will be going on. So it's similar to, are you all familiar with like New England Heritage Tour, American Heritage Tour? So it's kind of like that, right? It's an outside group that is providing the trip down. They plan it, they run it and everything. So yeah, that's what we'll be going on. We leave June 11th and we come back June 15th. It's a jam-packed few days. We leave, we fly in Southwest out of Manchester at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. We get to fly into BWI. We take, I believe, a rental van or something into DC where our hotel will be. And so we'll spend most of our time in DC, and then we'll take the metro, which is about a 30-minute ride up to University of Maryland. And so for when we're actually doing the judging, but there's actually not a lot of time we'll be at University of Maryland. Most of the time we'll be in DC. So we'll be going to museums, you know, the Vietnam War Memorial, World War II, the Holocaust Museum. One really cool opportunity kids get, we get to meet both of our senators. Maggie Hassan and Jean Shaheen. So that's really pretty cool. So and then the judging takes place, and then on Wednesday, I believe, for the high school level, which is called the senior division, and then on Thursday, here it is. And then on Thursday is the awards, and then we head out. Yeah, so Brian, I don't know if
I've kind of already gone through it all, but we can go through a little more detail, but, that's kind of up there. Are there questions for me about the event or the trip or anything like that?
What was the criteria to select the students?
So, National History Day works kind of the same way. You remember, you all probably had like geography bees or spelling bees, where within your own classroom, you had kind of the competition. And at Fall Mountain, we have all of the high school or all the history classes participate. And kids can do 5 different projects or types of projects. You could do a website. National History Day provides kind of like the basics for it. You kind of fill it in. You could put on a performance. You could do an exhibit, which are kind of like the trifold things, kind of like a trifold poster. You could write a paper, or you can do a documentary. So, and then within the history classes, us history teachers, we kind of choose the top ones. And then we have a Fall Mountain National History Day. So this entire library is filled with all the kids' projects. And then we always bring in outside judges. In the past, we brought in some kids from Keene State. A lot of times we bring in former teachers or community members to do the judging. So it's not me or other staff members here who are making the final choices. And then we send the top 2 projects from each category. If they're worthy, the top 2 projects from each category go to states. And then the same process kind of goes through. The top 2 projects from each category then go into nationals. So in this year, we have a group in the documentary division, in the exhibit, and the website divisions. And then, yeah, that's kind of the itinerary that's running through there right now.
I think it sounds great. I think anytime you have an opportunity to get out of your backyard and see what's out there, you take it.
Yeah, and particularly a lot of these kids, I know at least because they're all freshmen and sophomore, and New England Heritage Tour and American Heritage Tour was canceled for them. So it's kids who now get that opportunity that they were unfortunately denied. So yeah, it's a real great opportunity.
All right. Well, does anybody have any other questions? All right, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then, yes, Tom.
So I think, doesn't the board have to make a motion to approve?
It's on the consent agenda.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Thanks. I mean, we can pull it out. So do we want to have a discussion about teacher and staff, adding those 7 to 9 additional people to our list?
Can we want a motion to start? Absolutely.
Sure. Move to include the additional members in the teacher, number of hours worked, or staff members.
It's any staff member over 30 hours or under 30.
Under 30 hours,
Yeah. So to move to include additional staff.
Bring my motion back to you.
When you're done writing it.
Just to approve a stipend for non-full-time employees. And
On a
then,
prorated basis.
exactly.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All
Now
right,
you can get going.
fantastic. And we've also added a discussion of the Pine Tree Island funding. Did you have anything you wanted to add regarding that?
I don't think so. We're just like looking for your approval to put out the opportunity to fundraise for it and see what we can get from local.
Can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but when we had that discussion, I think the idea was that the whole project's probably closer to 20, maybe 25,000. But we figured that there may be a number of alumni who are really interested in it. You know, when you lose your pine tree, that's a lot. And so we thought that we might want to see if anyone was interested. And I believe their class has agreed to take on that, at least part of that portion of sort of doing the fundraising, putting out the message. So it's really kind of been approving the whole shebang.
All right, so do you need?
Can I just ask a question? Around the pine tree, when it was a pine tree, I had a number of, quite a few years, I had a dropout prevention program that I ran here. And we would put money into that grant to, do work on the island, because it was always kind of a little shabby. And so, we would try to put flowers in, we would try to do, we would try various different things that the kids would do during the summer to kind of bring it up, so it looked a little nicer. And we had difficulty with getting, the facilities department, the maintenance department to take on the, they didn't want to take over, they wanted my group to then take care of anything that we did on there. So I just want to make sure that, whatever you're doing, you have bills okay with it, that they're gonna help take care of it, because it was really frustrating to my kids. They put all this effort in during the summer, and then it would just get all weedy and it would get gross and, so.
Yeah, we
All
had
right.
a conversation with Collinsworth with regard to the different types of plans.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, Bill, so, yeah, we got it covered.
All right, great, because that was always a little bit of a bugaboo.
So I agree, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And then just ensure the bidding doesn't wipe out Pine Tree Island, just to make sure that. Yeah. It won't. Well, they wanted some reassurance.
I was at that meeting, so
Alright.
yeah, we talked about that to make sure that that wouldn't interfere with it.
As a person from away, what exactly are we talking about? Is it out there somewhere?
It's that rock area that's like in the middle of the driveway.
Right in front of the entrance.
If you,
Oh,
if
okay.
you just go out
Yeah,
and keep going, you'll hit it.
you'll hit it, okay.
It's
I
that-
think I know.
When the land was first given, or it was first, I don't know if it was given, but when it was first, deeded to be able to build a school here, why, there was a stipulation in there that the tree couldn't come down until the tree died. And so they finally determined that the tree was dying, and so then they were able to take it down.
There was one gray or brown.
No vehicles are.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion
Well, they were
to
looking-
allow?
I just have one up.
Okay, thank you.
Says to grant permission to the class of 2023 to seek fundraising opportunities for the renovation at Pine Tree Island. We like that.
Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. And I did it many times trying to do this. This is great. I'm so.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, I think that, somewhere on that island in your fundraising project, you need to have a little carving of a cigarette. Speaking as a alumni.
So glad you do not stick around for.
I have no comment.
Former use for this island.
Yeah.
Primary use.
I think that's.
Well, I thought when the tree was dead, that we should have carved the whole thing a big cigarette.
All right, so all in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I wish you the very best of luck and happy funding hunting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so now we are at the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove the maternity leave.
Okay. You have an additional?
The transgender students new.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for the remaining part of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept the remaining consent agenda as shown.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we remove the maternity leave update.
My issue with the maternity leave is I think it needs to go back to the policy committee to be updated. I mean, if you look at the first paragraph, they struck the word female and put in person or employee.
Yeah.
but the rest of the document still says she and her and all of that. And I think the reason that you struck the word female was for, I might get this wrong, transgender or identity issues.
Actually, that had been a recommendation, I think, by one of our school nurses. To change that, but because our whole purpose of dealing with that policy was to add in the part about having a space for lactating individuals. And so that's the only change that the policy committee had done. They put in one line about that we would follow the rules, the laws associated with whatever, and whatever, I think it was the Pump Act and maternity leave. And then we had been asked to change that one line, which we did, but we didn't go through the rest of it because that had been an established policy. So yeah, we may want to revisit it.
Dealing with the New Hampshire Homeland Security people, they always, what are your pronouns and all of that.
Sure.
I just assumed that that's what the reason was, so.
It was,
You forgot the pronoun part.
we'll work on our pronouns. Earlier today, we talked about prepositions, so we can really make some progress there.
That's a
We can-
new century, whatever.
We can, go ahead and approve it for first read and have those changes for the
For the
second read.
second, yeah.
Instead of it having to go back to policy, if that's the only changes you wanna make.
No,
I
that
think
was
that we
the
can-
only changes to the.
Yeah, we'll
it's
make
like
the
you made, you struck part of it.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
Yeah.
All right, does that work for everyone? All right, thank you.
Do we wanna vote on that one for first read?
So I make a motion to accept the maternity leave first read policy. Or maternity leave policy first read. There you go.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we can now discuss the transgender policy.
All right, so since I'm the only one that wanted to pull this out, I'm assuming that I'm the only one that has a problem with some of this. So what my problem is with E, restroom accessibility, F, locker room accessibility, and H, interscholastic competitive sports teams. And so what my problem is that I've talked to a number of teenage girls, including my granddaughter. I know this is a controversial subject. I do not approve of a biological male in a female restroom, locker room, or playing on a female sports team. There's nothing that anybody can say to me that will change my mind. It's a physical and physiological difference. That's all there is to it. With that being said, I also don't want any child to be discriminated against or picked on or hurt or not have the ability to do what they want to do. So my suggestion, I don't know what to do about the locker rooms or the sports. The bathrooms, I think we should have a designated bathroom, and the only one I can think of offhand is the one out here that has a door and it's a single person occupancy. But in Seattle, the schools, all new buildings and retrofitting are doing some interesting things with bathrooms. They're all unisex. When you walk into the bathroom, it's about a 10-foot opening, no door. And you walk into a common area that has sinks and mirrors. And then you have a set of stalls. The stalls aren't like our stalls. They're floor to ceiling walls and floor to ceiling doors, and they're soundproof. And that's one possible alternative. It's expensive. Sounds like we have a shitload of money, right? I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I know that the United States is one of the only countries in the civilized world that has these little half walls and these little bitty doors with gaps. All the rest of the world have floor to ceiling stalls.
A more local version than Seattle is Kearsarge Professional Development Center. They have unisex, full entry, just what you're saying. So if you go up to Kearsarge or you can see what it looks like. It is a little disconcerting at first as an older person to get used to it, but then you're like, oh yeah, this is fine.
Well, you know, when I heard about that opening, I thought to myself, that this cures a lot of problems that happen in bathrooms. Because it's so open, there can easily be a faculty or adults in the very close vicinity,
Right,
seeing what goes on
sure.
at the sink, you know? I don't know what the answer is. And I know that there's no good answer. There's no right answer. Somebody's gonna be hurt. I do understand that gender nonconforming or transgender, well, I don't even know how to say it, boy that wants to be a girl or is a girl is gonna have a problem in a men's locker room or a boy's bathroom. I don't know what the answer is. But I know that I'm not willing to sacrifice the majority of biological females feeling uncomfortable in situations like that. I just am not. So I would like to do everything that we can do in our power to make it right. And I know that people don't like to designate, but I'm sorry, somebody's already designated either by themselves or by whatever. So I don't feel that designating a bathroom for a specific subset is a bad thing, you know?
Well, I absolutely appreciate
So
where
that's
you're coming from.
what I got to say.
No, thank you for
Yeah, I'm probably in the minority,
Right.
obviously.
that all up. That all being said, I would also like to address the interscholastic, the sports teams that you also brought up. We did have a pretty lengthy discussion at policy about that. And because the NHIAA mandates that it's whatever the person chooses is where they get to compete. And we want to be a part of NHIAA, we have to abide by that as well. So that is why this is part of that. It would be a bigger discussion if we decided we did not want to be part of NHIAA.
I know that in the past we have had females that have competed on the football team, so.
Right, that's what they're saying, is that you absolutely can.
Yeah.
So and that's whether you want
They
to.
were, and then,
And how
that's when
do you
they weren't doing it because they were saying they were transgender, they wanted to compete on the football.
Yeah, they thought they were the best player.
Well, and I also don't want to be a hypocrite, and it goes both ways for me. I don't believe females should participate on male sports teams either, especially over the age of 12. The physical difference is huge. The bone density and muscle mass is different. I don't care. I just don't care. You can't convince me otherwise.
Well, it is left up to the individual where they want to be. Certainly with football, there's not a girls' football team, and so that was their only option, and they're allowed to do so. But if somebody identifies as male, they can choose where they want to. So that is where we're going on that. That was the discussion. Can we approve this as first read and discuss it again?
Yeah, it doesn't become official until second reading.
So this is a brand new policy for us, unlike some of the others where we've
Did it get,
updated.
did you do it? Did you develop this at a policy committee or is it a state template?
State template.
See, that's the other thing with the sports is I think that the state should actually put out a policy that has to be adopted, because if one school adopts it one way and another school doesn't, Vermont just ran into a huge problem. Where the state banned a girls' team from participating in a tournament because they didn't want to play against another team that had a biological male on it. That to me is not right. Why make a bunch of biological females suffer? Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't. I'm sorry. So you can have to prove this without me. That's
That's
all.
okay. I really
It is
appreciate-
okay.
I appreciate having
It's fine.
multiple
It's important.
viewpoints and discussion. Is there anybody else who'd like to add anything to this discussion? Then I will entertain a motion to approve it as first read.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
No.
All right. As such, thank you. All right, so that ends our consent agenda. At this point, I welcome any committee reports.
I have, oh, go ahead.
So, that's not really a committee, but I did go to the Walpole site-based meeting. And, nice discussion, had some things will come up later, and we talk about, the budgeting process, we talk about the affiliation agreement, some of that stuff will come up later. But, one thing I want to remind the board of is just kind of, Robert's Rules calls it decorum in debate. We spent the last thing on the agenda was they, replayed the last 10 minutes of our last meeting. And I don't think we need to censor ourselves and what we say, but maybe just be careful of how we say things, especially when people are not in the room. Some things might be said differently when people are in the room and when they're not. So just professional, professional discussion is what we should be involved and engaged in, and not something else.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and then we'll better. June.
Yeah, I have a report from the, for the, technical centers. We have, for next year, for, going over to River Valley, we have 33 students who will be going to River Valley. 8 of those into industrial trades. This is really hard to read. 8 of those are going into industrial trades 2, 8 of those are going into industrial trades 1, 4 are going into human services 2, 1 is going into human services 1, and then 6 are going into criminal justice 1, and we have 1 that is going into criminal justice 2. And then we also have audio and video productions 1 and 2. We have students going into there as well. So that's a nice group of kids going over there. I don't have the specifics from the Cheshire Center, but I did go to the Cheshire Center regional career center meeting. That was not just about the Cheshire Center, but I took a lot of notes about the Cheshire Center specifically for y'all. And one of the things, just in terms of our regional agreement general, that's being redone this year. And before, it's always been a 20-year agreement. And so now it is not, and the state helped with the development of the agreement, the state helped with the implementation of the agreement. The state is taking a huge step back from doing that, and it's all about that they aren't going to approve the agreements, they're not going to provide a template, and they'll not settle disagreements in between the different parties. So the state's kind of taken a big step back. So which could be an issue, but I think everybody plays nice in the sandbox so far. So I mean, I know in the past we didn't all play nice in the sandbox. Back in the day when I used to be teaching here, we had some big sand fights. And so so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, but we are going to be working on syncing the calendar. We have the most days that are out of sync. We have 15 days that are out of sync. And part of that is because we're trying to sync with 2 calendars. And so it makes it difficult for us you can't please everybody. So that's an issue for us. And they are going to be working on getting the embedded credits back in, which I think is a wonderful thing. Embedded credits, just for folks who might not know what that is that a student who is going to the technical center can get a embedded math credit or an embedded English credit, or there's some art credit that's already in there that are embedded for some of the courses down there now. And that is when I was teaching here, I had students who the only reason they finished high school was because they were able to get those embedded credits. And then we went to having the No Child Left Behind, went to this whole thing of having master teachers and all these different things and highly qualified teachers. And they said that those teachers could no longer teach because they were not highly qualified in math or highly qualified in English. They no longer could issue those credits. And so that became a real issue for us. And I had students who then were not able to go to the technical center because they couldn't fit it in their day and still be able to meet their requirements. And that they didn't, their option was they could go for another year. But, you know, say that to a 16, 17-year-old, oh, well, you can go for another year and then you can get those credits. And they're like, yeah, right, Mrs. Vogel, I don't think so. So I think that that's going to be a really good thing, because when you have a student who's building a house, there's a lot of math in that. And I know that some of the math that my husband has me try to do when we're building something, I'm like, what? It's a who? So, it's hands-on in the way that these students are able to learn. So I think that's a great thing.
Is it safe to assume that they get embedded credits also at River Valley?
River Valley is working on getting embedded credits back into theirs. It's kind of, you know, that thing that education goes like this, and it's a pendulum that goes back and forth. And so people are really realizing that these things that we need to take care of these things. Both places are really working on connecting with colleges and places of higher learning, so that they are able to be providing college credits for students as they're in the program. And so we have students who are going to be able to be finishing their technical center program with a good year of their with getting credit from River Valley, not River Valley Technical Center, but River Valley College, and be able to come out with like a full year already done, that they didn't have, that there's no cost for that.
Right.
And so, so that's a really good thing. And that really is a good way of moving forward with this, really working on increasing that concept that students who are working in the career centers are not the trash of the school. You know, they're not the kids that are, oh, they're not going to college, so they're just, oh, we'll just send them off to the career center. Which in speaking with members of the community who did participate in those programs, they said that they got a lot of that from their teachers and their guidance counselors here at Fall Mountain, which really surprised me, because I felt like we really worked hard to make it that going to the technical centers was a good thing. But they still were, you know, kids pick up. And so they still were feeling that stigma of the technical center. And so, but if you go to the technical center and go through the firefighter program, or you go to the technical center and go through the EMT program, you are certified as an EMT. And I will tell you, as an EMT, that is no easy task. So, and the test for that is very, very difficult. So, we're having a little issue with the EMT course over in Vermont, because if the kids do participate in that over in Vermont, they get certified as an EMT in Vermont, which really doesn't help them much over here. So, but there is a program down at Cheshire as well. So, Cheshire, I went then down to the open house night and was able to tour some of the places. Their industrial trades got shut down this year because they had not been keeping it up, and it was really not good. But they have done a lot of work in there. They've gotten some really big donations from the local community, and they're back up to being state of the art. So, so that will be interesting to see whether we'll be able to continue to send our kids over to Springfield for that industrial trades. But we do have a bunch of kids that are already in there. So
once they start in Springfield, will they be able to continue?
I think so.
We would hope, right?
We would
and
hope,
think,
and
but
we
you never
are.
know.
We are really working with getting the interstate agreement, because the state has it with other districts, with other places up, other technical centers up and down the river. So it's like, come on, let's go. And so it's not, and I don't think it's Vermont. I think it's New Hampshire that's dragging their heels. So, but I was talking with Jay Cohen, who is a senator. He's also in my synagogue, and he and I were chatting, and he is working on helping with some of that stuff. So.
Well, certainly if there's other opportunities for us to go and advocate for that,
yeah,
I hope you bring that to us, because that is incredibly important, especially because our district is so long and has so much of a border with Vermont.
Right, and I mean, for kids who live in Charlestown to go over to the technical center, over to Springfield, it makes a whole lot of sense. But you know, maybe kids who are in Walpole, who are really close to Keene, it makes more, you know, so that they can finish their day down there, especially if they're old enough to drive. You know, So there's all of those things, so,
Well, that was a lot of information. Thank you.
yeah, sorry.
No, it was great. I like to hear all that. There's a lot.
I was
going
like,
on.
oh, I've got lots of stuff to tell them this year, this month.
Kevin?
I have one more thing, so I'm on the wellness committee, but I haven't gone to any meetings lately, because I teach on that day, but we just approved the first reading of, allowing, women who are breastfeeding a place to go and pump that is not in a bathroom, and we don't have any place like that. And we have some extra funds. Have we looked into lactation pods?
We did, well, we were reviewing it during policy thing, you can rent them,
We can also buy them, not that
you
expensive.
could buy them.
So can I make I make a
Like
motion
$20,000.
or to, okay?
You can make a motion.
I move that we ask
The district.
to get us bids on lactation pods. We can abide by our policy.
Yeah, I used to use the nurse's office.
Yeah.
Do I have,
It was still awkward, so.
do I have a second on
Oh,
the motion
sorry.
before we discuss?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion.
Yeah, it was, as a mom, it was an awkward thing because, you know, I'd be in the nurse's office and be like, what's that noise back there? It was not, you know, it was not, it's awkward. They're teenagers, you know, and it's like, so trying to explain, oh, that's Mrs. Vogel. You know?
That is not privacy. Yeah, do we have anywhere in the district that does have space,
Oh, that has space,
like in any of the attendance areas?
I mean.
So I know
Use for
that
speech and
Lisa
language.
Darian did have a conversation with Lori Landry about lactation pods.
Yes.
Because we did look into whether or not there could be some funding for those, so you may want to have a
Well,
conversation.
she did like with me earlier this year,
She did.
I guess it was just a question of if you have people who are, you know, breastfeeding currently. Is
Right.
there a space in your buildings, for example, Justin, in your buildings and yours? I mean, it's kind of where they go currently. And is it the nurse's office or is it somewhere else?
We have different spaces at each building. We make it work. It's not like a comfortable space, but like
Yeah.
offices and stuff like that, there are just some signs up for the staff.
I've looked inside the pods and they're pretty sterile, like it's not a Ritz-Carlton by any means. So, I guess I would like to see maybe what a quote would be, or if there are any rentals. But then to have somebody compare what we have now to what those actually are
Right,
and see if it offers us any benefit above what we have now.
I can, you want me to do that? I can get a quote and I'll talk to you.
We have,
You have quotes?
we do.
Okay.
Within the information that Lisa sent.
Okay.
There is some information that I can.
Yeah, why don't we take a look and see if they have visual depictions and. Well,
There might be other vendors as well.
yeah, I don't know if there's a corner on that market or not. We'll see.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. All in favor?
This is to get bids on.
Yes.
See if we can get this there. Any opposed? All right, then I look forward to those bids for the June meeting as well.
Sure.
Can I just make sure, are we really getting bids or are we just getting quotes?
I think we're getting quotes on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say not a formal, okay,
Closed.
okay, you know what I mean, it's different, so.
Do we want to amend the
Yeah,
motion?
to getting
This
quotes.
Specifically says bids.
Did you intend?
I attended quotes.
Quotes,
So,
okay.
Okay, just making sure.
So to amend the motion, the person who seconded it, good with the motion change? All right.
Thank you.
So quotes for the June meeting. Got it.
Thanks for clarifying.
I just, when I hear bid.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, any other committee reports? I don't know if we have anybody. All right, then moving on to the treasurer's report.
The treasurer.
Oh, I'm-
Joe.
As far as I know, I believe I signed all of the vouchers in that file there. Has everyone else?
Oh, no, I
Is
haven't.
there anything that you thought that you wanted to know?
Do we have the group going and
Yeah.
checking them
Yeah,
out? Or is-
I went
was-
and
okay.
checked them out.
Was there anything you didn't see?
There wasn't anything in there that I thought needed to be,
Discussed.
discussed.
Good.
Can't take it out. It's there.
All right, can I have a motion to accept the treasurer?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Do we have a non-public?
To my knowledge. Shelley might-
Shelley, ready?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Oh, to adjourn, wow, okay. Fine.
Oh, I didn't wanna go into an.
Oh, I was like, oh, what's this
Yeah.
about?
So you don't have any updates for us?
No, no, next week and then the week after, and then there'll be an update.
All right. Anybody want a second the motion to adjourn?
Well, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
See, you told me.
That's good.
See?
Every once in a
Yeah,
while, that's not a bad thing.
Um,